Good morning. So, how do you prepare for a job interview? It's a question actually that not too many people really get to grips with ever. Some people take a bit of a laissez-faire attitude and they rock up to the interview to see how it goes. Others over prepare and get too nervous and end up kind of missing their lines, so to speak. So, if I was preparing for an interview, this is what I would do. There'd be four parts to interview preparation. The first part is the planning. You always plan to win. So what you do is you look in to the firm, do your research, make sure you know about the firm, look at them in the latest news, see what they're up to, look at the people that are interviewing you, look at their profiles, just to get a grip of what they do and see where the synergy is. But always make sure you do your research on what the company actually does. Okay, that's most important. The second thing you could do to plan, and I see this a lot, is that you can use ChatGPT and run the job spec past ChatGPT and also your CV, and it will come up with some questions and how you can answer them. But they tend to be very scripted answers, and I'm not convinced by using ChatGPT and learning a script is the way to go here. Okay, so the most important thing is prepare and know the firm. Okay, so let's move on to the next point, okay, which is to talk about your weaknesses, and that comes from your CV. So an interviewer will go through your CV and they'll be asking questions, obvious weaknesses. So they're going to be talking about job moves. For example, why you shifted careers at certain points, and they'll be asking you to justify those moves. Now, you've got to answer those in a question that will satisfy the interviewer very quickly, because otherwise you're going to be spending an hour talking about your weaknesses, which is not what you want to do. So it's mainly going to be about job moves, if I'm being honest, and career choices. Those are the obvious things that stand out on your CV. If you're looking to relocate somewhere, that's another obvious potential weakness, which potential employers will look to dig into. So you have to justify why you're looking to move there, and that sort of answer would be you have to show commitment to a location. Could be family or friends or some other reason, or it could just be because it could be an ideal job for you in that location, but you have to be committed. Okay, so once you've gone through your CV and identified potential weaknesses and have answers for them, you then move into the second bit, which is your strengths, which is what we all like to talk about. Okay, so most people, perhaps more introverted people, don't like talking about themselves, but trust me, an interview is the only time where you get to like self-promote yourself for an hour and people are interested in you, or should be anyway. So what sort of thing are your strengths? Well, the key one is to look at the job spec and look at your key technical experience in relation to that job spec which you have done. Those are your strengths, and you need to be able to talk about that experience. So employers will often use like a kind of funnel down approach, and they'll ask a broad question first and then narrow it down to specific matters that you've worked on in relation to that, and even go into more specifics and after that about the outcome. So make sure you know your CV and make sure you're prepared to talk about those strengths. Okay, second strengths, or another type of strength, and people don't often think about this, is your notice period. If you've got a short notice period and a firm is urgently looking, that is a massive strength. Language skills also, if you're bilingual and that skill is essential, that's obviously a strength. And then character traits, specific character traits which would be suitable for the job, that would be a strength. But the main thing is technical experience. Your natural persona will come out at the interview. So going back to my first point about weakness again, you could be asked about salary expectations, which candidates will find out very hard. That comes back to research. So do your own research, look at salary bandings and have a clear idea of what you think the market rate salary would be. If you're asked that question in an interview, You simply answer, look, from my research, this is what it's saying the market rate is. I'm obviously looking for the market rate, and just say if the market rate is more than that, then you're happy to consider. If it's less than that, then fine, you'll consider it. So you're keeping your options open. But only tell them that if they're forcing you to answer the question about what you want to be paid. If they say to you, if they start off and say, what would you like to be paid? And you say the market rate for my level of experience, that's fine. If they don't ask you again, don't start going on about salary bandings, okay? So make sure you answer or be prepared to answer that question about what is your weakness. The fourth thing you've got to do now is actually prepared to ask the client a couple of good questions at the interview. We recommend no more than 3 or 4, and we recommend that you keep it strictly in relation to the job spec. Okay, you keep it professional. You can say like, why has a role perhaps arisen? You know, what would be expected of me? How you would see me developing in the short, medium to long term. These are good questions to ask. What are not good questions are, for example, you know, what my holiday is, or you know, what are the benefits? You know, just keep it in relation to the job spec, who you're working for, what the potential is for growth, how they see you fitting into the team in the short to medium to long term. Okay, so one other point I've got about interviews is you'll often be asked technical experience. You know, what is your technical experience? And sometimes you might not know the answer. Now, never ever freeze up on that point. Always say to them, look, be honest and say, I've done this well, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. If a client asks me that question, I would actually tell them that I'll just go away and double check and then come back to them. And then you can say you know, you're a bright person, you do your own research, and you would check and then go back to them with the answer. Let's be under no illusions. You know, jobs and careers are all about learning, and sometimes you're not going to know it all, so don't pretend that you do. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good overview. They're going to ask, obviously, why you're looking to move, explain your job moves, maybe talk about salary, talk about your strengths, why you want to join the firm. You've got to know the firm. You ask them some good questions. The last thing I would say about an interview is the psychology of an interview. You're going to get nervous, that's for sure, and nerves are energy. Positive energy, if used correctly. So understand, just be honest and kind to yourself. Yeah, I am going to get nervous, but as soon as you start speaking, those nerves will dissipate, but it gives you energy to perform better. So remember that if you feel nervous, it's good. If you feel like, I don't want to go in for this interview because I feel nervous, that's where you need to be. It gives you the energy to perform. Okay, so never worry about nerves. Nerves are just natural. As soon as you get into the flow of the interview, you're gonna perform. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If you're going for an interview, we wish you all the best. If you need any interview tips, please do give me a shout. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'll put that in the comments section below. Yeah, all the best. Thank you.